I think we can signify that this is the beginning of the end for Boris Johnson. So for people who are outside the UK who may not know, this is what has taken place, as you can see from this tweet here. If we can go on the media, so the image is just a bunch of media outlets all going with the same story, which is that the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, decided to host some party in the middle of lockdown.
You'd have seen that one coming.
Yeah, so when he said Christmas cancelled for everyone in the country, at the same time was hosting parties at his place. Apparently 3. So it's not just one as well.
Yeah, I saw that. It was one in November, a full-on Christmas party in December, and then also a Christmas quiz that took place at an unknown date. So.
And the first one being in his flat as well. So that's,
oh, yeah.
Anyway, so not going with the spirit of the law, even if not the letter of the law. So this is the big story, especially in the UK. There is nothing else anyone is talking about, especially in the mainstream. The smear merchants are all at it because they hate Boris, because they always have. And I've started to hate Boris because of the things he has done. So we'll just start with that. So the first thing to mention is, of course, Prime Minister's questions took place like half an hour ago it started. And we have a question from there. So let's play this.
Will the Prime Minister tell the House whether there was a party in Downing Street on the 13th of November?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, but I'm sure that whatever happened, the guidance was followed and the rules were followed at all times.
I can't believe he actually went with that answer. No, but yes, but...
But if they did, we followed all the guidance. Like, well, if it's a no, then you don't have to say the second bit. But okay, fine. We'll just have the admittance that, yes, it did. There's also the leaked footage coming out of this. So this is the other part of the big story, because it was alleged like a week ago this had taken place, but no one cared because there was no evidence. This is the evidence. So this is a test run for press secretary. So apparently they were going to pick a press secretary, and this is like the candidates they had, and they filmed it for their own benefit. And then someone has taken the footage and leaked it to the mainstream media and given it to them to then go after Boris with, of course.
I think this is especially interesting because the press secretary thing is... this footage is literally showing them teaching the press secretary how to lie.
Yes, which is their job.
Yes.
In every situation, they are there to be the boy who just defends whoever's behind them.
But until this, we all sort of just inferred that we know that they're lying. But this is just direct evidence, pretty much.
We're looking behind the curtain there, aren't we? Anyway, we also don't have these in Britain as a public thing the United States does with Saki and whatnot, where they just stand there and constantly take questions. It's not really a thing here. But we tried it for a bit and then apparently have just ditched it. So this is the footage, and we'll play this.
I've just seen reports on Twitter that there was a Downing Street Christmas party on Friday night. Do you recognise those reports?
I went home. Hold on.
Would the Prime Minister condone having a Christmas party?
What's the answer?
I don't know.
It wasn't a party, it was cheese and wine.
Just be clear, it's not.
Is cheese and wine all right?
No.
It was a business meeting.
I'm joking.
This is recorded. His fictional party was a business meeting. And it was not socially distanced. One more, and then one more.
But it is amazing. Just footage there. You can see them laughing about the fact that they know they've broken the rules. You can see them trying to joke about, oh, it's only cheese and wine. Is that the defense? You know, the people in the audience there. And her sort of joking back and like, yeah, imagine if I did that. That would be funny.
Yeah.
And it's good to see behind the curtain, I guess, but it does get to a proper issue, which is that, well, you're not allowed to do this.
You're the ones who set the rules. Why weren't you sticking to them?
But I mean, we all knew. You may remember this lady as well. I don't know who said it. Was it Allegra Stratton or something like that? Who cares? I shouldn't have to care about the inside circle of these people. You may remember this is back when they brought up her being the press secretary. This was, as described by The Independent, an olive branch to journalists, as it was a departure from Dominic Cummings' strategy of saying, smear merchants, get effed. Like, just wasn't interested. Go to hell. You're not getting invited. Oh, you don't have an invite. Oh, boo-hoo. And this is why, people couldn't be mad at Dominic Cummings, because it's just like, yeah, mainstream media, everyone hates you. Get lost. So,
I mean, I respect that position, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, so she was seen as a position of an olive branch, as described by The Independent. And it was also apparently part of the reason Dominic ended up leaving, of course, because him and his boys wanted to put someone in the press secretary position, and apparently the girlfriend, now wife of Boris Johnson, wanted this lady. So that was a cause of friction. Many other causes of friction, I'm sure. It's office politics, so it's hard to tell who's telling the truth.
This is a point that's been made a number of times. Carrie Johnson seems to have an undue level of influence.
Yeah, also apparently all the parties were her idea too, because she loves parties.
Wow.
So, I mean,
How's that one working out for you, Boris?
Boy. Anyway, so number 10 has responded to these allegations after the footage was released. I mean, that's the best bit. So, like, the footage is released. Number 10 know the footage is released. And they respond with, there was no Christmas party. COVID rules have been followed at all times. As you saw Boris staying in the house 30 minutes ago. It's just like, no one's buying that. What are you doing? No one is going to believe this. Ever.
Yeah. The very fact that you keep having to put the little disclaimer at the end saying, well, if there was anything, though, we definitely did follow the rules. I mean, that just says it all, really.
There is a much better defense I have seen from people defending Boris. I don't know why they bother, but they're trying. And so if we go to the next one, this is the legal defense. And the legal defense is actually seemingly robust. So this is the health protections, coronavirus restrictions, blah, 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 2021. And in here it says, for example, that a gathering is permitted, organized gathering for purposes of these regulations if paragraph 2 or 3 applies. Paragraph 2, subsection A, the gathering is operated by a business, a charitable, benevolent, or philanthropic institution, or a public body. And number 10 being a public body, that would be the argument. That, well, no, in the law, we were allowed to have a gathering because we made an exemption for ourselves.
Yes.
Doesn't really make you look good, though, does it? I mean, yeah, we made a loophole in the law so we could do this. Fantastic. I mean, you're not going to court. You're not going to get arrested by the police. That's lovely. But again, doesn't make you look good. Also completely undermines your point of insisting that the public is not able to engage in any such gatherings, but you are, as you put in your loophole, in the law you passed. Great, thanks, wonderful.
Fantastic. It's not like governments haven't made these kind of double standards before.
But I'm actually very happy about all this. I'm not mad at all, because it completely undermines the government's restrictions.
Oh, yeah. Anything that undermines a government is a good thing in my books.
No, but specifically these restrictions. So these restrictions have, as Carl has described many a time, been completely tyrannical and has come out on the right side of this, of course, being the fact that, well, pretty much everyone and their mum who put these in around the world has broken them, regardless of what restrictions they were. But then the fact that you have to the point of the Prime Minister, the man who has continuously been slapped by the media and the left-wing politicians, we need more daddy, govern us harder, daddy.
Oh, yeah.
And then he does it because he doesn't have any spine to just say, get lost. Well, yeah, then all of this should go because no one takes it seriously. I mean, you may remember, what is it, like, okay, Boris has broken them. Keir Starmer broke them when he had that party at Labour HQ.
Yep.
So that's the two big people taken care of. We also have endless numbers of people in the SNP who broke them. You know, you've got, Neil Ferguson as well, which we'll mention in a minute, who also broke them. The guy who instituted the lockdown. No one cares.
Yep.
No one in the know cares about these restrictions in the UK.
And these are the people in the know. So what does that say about the restrictions?
People who enforce them, the ones who made it law. Yeah. Anyways, moving on from this. So if we go to the next one, we have the reports that there were many social gatherings at Downing Street because Carrie is addicted to them, says the source, which I'm not shocked. Not shocked at all. Bad choice, Bojo. Anyway, moving on. So we go to Neil Ferguson, just to remind people, of course, of the fact that everyone in the know didn't care. And you can see here, Professor Neil Ferguson, lockdown cannot be ruled out to fight Omicron COVID variant. All of a sudden, we need another lockdown. And as you can probably...
What was it in July?
Sorry?
What was it that they said in July when they lifted all the restrictions the first time?
Wouldn't happen again?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then we got this guy coming back being like, yeah, new lockdown in the works. And we also have the government today endlessly talking about Plan B, which is just them instituting passports for COVID. Because, well, they tried it before. No one really cared and told them to get stuffed. So they've just waited until they can think they can get it through. To stop COVID...
There's a new variant, so it's definitely necessary this time.
Has nothing to do with stopping COVID.
Because the vaccine passports have worked so well everywhere else.
The passports themselves have far more to do with control. And if we move on from this, just remind people, Professor Neil Ferguson, who's that guy? Well, he got kicked out of Sage because he was out with this lady in the middle of lockdown, she's cheating on his husband. So she had a husband.
No, she's cheating on her husband.
Yes. So that's that. Apparently they had an open marriage. So, I mean, the morality of that, I don't know.
Imagine getting cooked by this man.
Yeah, like Matt Hancock as well. Another one.
Yeah.
He broke the rules. He lost his job. Boris? At least he wasn't cheating on his wife, I guess. Anyway, so this is the story here. So he resigned after breaking lockdown rules to meet his married lover. I acted in belief that I was immune, he said, after having tested positive for coronavirus and completely isolated myself for almost 2 weeks after developing symptoms. So again, a man who is, in his words, able to assess the danger. You know, he's had the virus, therefore he's immune, therefore he can go out and it'll be
All on an
fine.
individual basis as well.
Yeah, imagine if everyone else had that kind of privilege.
Yeah, he didn't extend those rules to anyone else, did he?
No, he is the one who instituted the lockdowns. And also, he's now trying to do it again. And then even with the argument being, oh, Omicron, it's like, well, look, we take your reasoning from when you were cheating. Almost everyone in those countries had the flattened thing.
Yeah.
They've had the vaccine, or they've had the virus, pretty much. I mean, what percentage of people haven't had one of those two? In which case, well, I'd like to bring up your argument when you got caught cheating.
I think there should be enough respect given to the British public to be able to say, I am able to...
Assess the risks.
Yeah, assess my own risks.
But no, government says no. So they say in here that Miss Stratz, I don't know how you say it, written weird, a left-wing campaigner who is also understood to be in an open marriage is the lady involved. And
she's got some soy boy, leftist boyfriend. Yeah, sure, I don't mind.
Literally, but that's none of my business. You
Can
enjoy
buy him
yourself.
a Switch?
You weirdo. But Neil Ferguson, being the public figure who instituted the lockdowns, has no such escape. But we also can move on from this. We also have Jacob Rees-Mogg, who decided to step into this, which bad. Look. And you have him saying here at a Christmas party for, what is it, the Institute of Economic Affairs. And he mentions here, we're going to all be obeying the rules and regulations, aren't we? And this party is not going to be investigated by the police in a year's time. You're all being very carefully socially distant. And they all start laughing because they're obviously not. And again, terrible look for them. I mean, if you wanted to institute the lockdowns and the endless restrictions, don't break them. Pretty simple rule.
Yeah.
No one achieved that.
Kind of undermines how effective they look.
Yeah, but also the obviously right thing to do, because you don't care by your own actions. I mean, all of you. I mean, I'm not singling out anyone here who's enforced these rules, because it's so obvious that all of them don't care. Then don't do it. Don't force restrictions on people. Let them assess the risks for their own situation. They have their own brains, just like you had your own brain, and assess the risk for your situation and assess it to be fine. Other people can do that too. Not the public aren't automatons with no thinking ability. Anyway, we'll also move on because I kind of hate the power dynamics here of the smear merchants all being like, haha, look, we've got one over on Boris.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, oh, shut up. Who's listening to these people? You're not the heroes in this story.
We do have long-term memories.
You remember?
Unfortunately for you.
Remember this? So, Politics for All, on this day 1 year ago, Kay Burley, Beth Rigby, and who else cares? Some of the most senior journalists in the country broke lockdown rules to have a massive birthday piss-up. You remember that?
Yep.
They went to multiple places because they went to some place and it was closed, so they went somewhere else and had a big
quite
meal.
well documented. There were a number of photographs going around of them all,
and they all
well within 6 feet of each other, maskless.
And they all got kicked out of the office for a while because it was like, well, you embarrassed us.
Yes.
But all of the journalists, all the smear merchants. So the idea that these people should get any kudos in any of this, go to hell. You people are just as bad. You were the people calling for the lockdowns. You were the people calling for the restrictions. So, no, I don't care that if you think Boris Johnson broke them too. No, you should have never have promoted them. Like any sane person, but fine. We also want to see the response to this. So we go to the next one, which is Kay Burley's response to being called out. Oh, doesn't like being reminded of it. She blocked Politics for All there because very upset that, yes, you are a smear merchant by your own definition, by your own actions, whatever. So if we move on, we also have the global situation with people just ignoring this crap. This is just an example from The Bad Man. I must, of course, say the very bad man, bad man.
What a terrible, terrible person.
Mr. Roblin Tomlinson, or whatever it is. Here's an example here.
Tomlin.
And Italian school kids are socially distant by a meter and windows remain open. Politicians in Italy and other VIPs amassed for the Prima della Scala. One rule for them, one rule for you. And you can see some eyebrows here where everyone's socially distanced. No one is. Because, of course. And it's just, it's just one example, Italy here. But the point being that globally, we saw Nancy Pelosi and all the rest of them in the US.
Yeah. Barack Obama's 60th birthday party.
Endless numbers. Kamala Harris and all her friends, they were sat around in white. And,
AOC and those photo shoots where as soon as they think the cameras are off them, they all take the masks off. Yep.
None of them care. All of them have assessed the danger in their situation and have assessed that they don't need to do it. Why can't you have the same? Because you're not in power. That's how that works. So let's move to the next one here, which is it's been 12 months since this happened. Who's been sitting on it for 12 months? Who done it? Who done the leak? Have it a guess. Who could it be?
Whoever could it be?
Yeah, it's Dominic Cummings. Come on, let's not mess about. And it's really good. I quite enjoy it. And for people who haven't been following, like he has his own Substack, which is subscribed to for his inner thoughts about all this as well, because he's trying to monetize it because he's got to make some money somehow, I assume. So
Yeah, fair play.
And you have him pointing out in that first tweet there where he was like, it's very unwise for Number 10 to lie about this, talking about that they were lying about not having a party. And he's like, I've got the tapes, dum-dums. So I assume he's the one who released it. And you can see him retweeting the hashtag regime change is coming.
And he does seem to be having quite a victory march gloating session right there.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Fair to him. I also, if you read his reasoning on Substack, we don't have time to go into it, but endlessly, he's basically just like, look, these people are incompetent. And if we get rid of them, we can have regime change and then get some better things done. Because he was really hopeful. I mean, who wasn't? Got the Brexit deal done. Okay, more reforms. We can actually get some conservative stuff done. And then ended up getting like beef fights with Carrie Johnson. I mean, who cares about her? And then nothing happened. And just endless disappointment. So he ended up leaving.
Yes.
And now he wants regime change, as he puts it, to right those wrongs. That is what his mission, he sees it.
What has Boris done other than act as a vessel for leftist policies, just with a bit of a stone on his back holding him back from doing it as fast as Labour would?
He talks about windmills a lot, and that's about it for him.
Okay.
I mean, you're right though. And we got Brexit. That's done. Okay, that was the point of the election, if you remember back then. So now what? Okay, all the other stuff you promised? No, raising taxes. Fantastic.
More diversity and equity within the NHS.
We'll take every asylum seeker that just happens to be, I don't know, bored and give them a house. But there have been some good things. I mean, like Priti Patel's immigration point system that passed. That's law.
Okay,
but that's Priti Patel's. That's not his.
Yeah.
And then we have Kemi Badenoch, who has done a fantastic job of opposing critical race theory in Parliament, making sure it is illegal to teach it in public schools in this country. Or Liz Truss going out and opposing Stonewall. None of those are him.
So all of the good conservative policies that have come about have not been as a direct result of Boris.
No, and he doesn't seem to have supported them in any regard. I mean, I don't know on the immigration stuff how much he supported Priti Patel, but he has definitely not supported Kemi or Liz in their fight back against Stonewall and the LGBTQIA.
Yeah, I don't remember
racket.
him making any statements in regards to any of those.
No, in fact, he supported them. But I do love that Dominic Cummings sees it as his mission in life to just do this now. And yeah, okay.
It's a Count of Monte Cristo situation.
Yeah, I don't even think he wants to be back in Number 10 advising them. He just wants rid of Boris and Carrie because he thinks, well, what a waste of space. And some other people could do a much better job at doing the reforms that are needed in this country.
You and me both, Dominic.
Yeah, and I get the title of the segment from Nigel Farage, who Nigel Farage responded to this whole situation in the next link by saying this is the beginning of the end for Boris Johnson. And I think he is probably right, that this will be a cornerstone moment that people will look back on in the slow fall of him, because he has done none of the things he needs to support the people who put him in power. No reforms, except from Brexit being done. Okay, Now what? You've got loads of time left. But instead, he wants to go off and write a book about Churchill or something. And it's like, well, people want
He's already done that.
People want you to be prime minister, as Dominic put it, when being text from Boris being like, "I'm bored. I want to write a book." I was like, no, do your job, motherfucker. Anyway, so Nigel making the point that if he really is going to do nothing, if he can't turn this around, I mean, Carl recommended the Chad response to all of this would be to turn around in Parliament and be like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't care about the restrictions. Never did." And also, I was only pushed into it, and this government was only pushed into it, thanks to the media and you left-wing politicians asking us to be governed harder, daddy. I mean, you imagine, they could go out today and announce vaccine passports, and the Labour response would be not enough.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the point.
They'd be like, well, we agree, but you should have done it 2 weeks ago. There you go.
You could turn around and do the Chad thing, but he's not going to, so that's not going to happen. Well, in which case, this is just going to be a downfall of him. I also wanted to mention one more thing in here, which I just found funny. And, yesterday we spent bashing Labour, which is my favourite thing to do. So I thought I'd include this as well, which is someone actually went out and made fake conservative leaflets. And they're really well made. Like, I couldn't tell the difference.
They look pretty legit to me.
And I think it's really funny. So you can see here, the Conservative Party is proud of its record on net migration in the UK. And then he's got, like, the graphs of, the explosion in immigration and the Conservatives not doing anything about it, or the mass fast-tracking of Afghan refugees, in quotation marks there, and so on and so forth. If we go to the next one as well, it's just like the Conservative Party proudly welcomes refugees and migrants into Britain with a picture of Boris hanging out of a mosque. I do think it's funny. But anyway, last thing to mention on that. Otherwise, they could do the right thing. They won't. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site.
We've got loads on there, and it's all really, really good. For example, we have regular premium articles that discuss contemporary events, and we have an audio track for our silver and gold tier members. And of course, we have our regular series on there. We've got Contemplations, which is Josh and whoever he wants to have talk to him about a particular topic. On this one, he's talking about talking to Bo, about in-group preference. Moving on. Bo and myself also do the Epoch series, which says talking about history. This one's Belisarius Part 3, because Belisarius was a 6th century Byzantine general, and he had an amazing career and a genuinely tragic end. And the myth of him is old blind Belisarius begging on the streets of Rome would have been better than what happened to him, but I won't spoil it. I'll let you find out. And of course, we do our regular book club as well this week's or this month's. I don't know how often we do them actually. Fairly regularly. It takes a while to read a book. But this is Callum doing John Stuart Mill's On Liberty, in which I rail against utilitarianism. I used to be a huge fan of John Stuart Mill, like 5-10 years ago. And since then, I've really soured on utilitarianism. And so the framing of his arguments, I find kind of insufferable. He's not wrong in what he's arguing for, but it's the way he's doing it. But anyway, we also do a bunch of premium podcasts, things that are entertaining, we think, like the politics of Star Trek that I did with John, talking about, well, is Star Trek a socialist paradise or not? It turns out it's not, but it's something different. Post-scarcity liberalism, basically. But that's a really good podcast. And we also have to put up things on the website that we can't actually put on YouTube because YouTube has editorial policies about things such as where all these heart attacks are coming from. Giant elephant in the room. It's probably climate change. Don't worry about it. We also have fascinating interviews from really interesting people, such as this one, which is an activist called Luke Avery, who's a Christian, but don't worry, he's not Bible thumping in this. What he's doing is talking about the ancient wisdom in the biblical book of Proverbs, and it's very much daddish sort of stuff, and I really enjoyed doing this one. And I think I'll have him back in, hopefully, to do another one, Ecclesiastes or something, and hopefully we'll do another one soon.
And if you want to keep up with us, you can follow us on getter.com. I love the phrase and getter doing, something like that. I don't know.
You're doing really well on there, though, aren't you? You've got like 11,000 followers.
So come follow me on Getter, come follow you on Getter.
Yeah. And lotuses.com on Getter.
Lotuses_com on there. Let's go check that out. And also the conference itself. So this is a conference being put on by the Getter guys. This is on the December the 8th. So update on this, the Getter conference has been postponed until further notice. We will let people know as soon as we have more information. Apparently it was postponed thanks to the global freakout in response to the Omicron variant. So sorry about that. So if you'd like to get access to all that premium content, you can subscribe at lotuseaters.com. Thank you and goodbye.